Live from 18 News, this is the Sheriff Forum.
Welcome everybody to the next hour of live TV. We have some exalted guests here. How's that guys? Wow. Exalted guests, not bad. From the left, Bill Schramm, the Sheriff of Chemung County, Jim Allard, Sheriff of Steuben County, and Kevin Rumsey, the Sheriff of Schuyler County. Gentlemen, I always appreciate when you say you'll do this because you always have all kinds of good information. Tonight we got some serious things to talk about. And we're going to take text questions from you. And we'll have that number up in just a minute. But before we get started, there it is right there, 607-667-1818. Made that one easy to remember. 607-667-1818. And our producer, Brendan Pappas, is here now getting ready to monitor those texts and get them over to me. Gentlemen, before we start, I always ask the same thing I always start whenever we do any of this. I want you to certify, please, that you and I have not discussed any of the questions I'm about to ask of you.
We have not.
You're going to ask questions?
Sheriff Allard, I do apologize for that. Yeah. All right, I want to start tonight with something that's truly bothering me a lot. Why do we have so many people in our area who participate in disseminating, making even, or sharing, having child pornography? It just seems like every other day somebody's getting arrested or charged with doing this stuff. And I've lived in big cities my entire career. I've never seen anything like this. It's just so many. Why do you think that? Are we just doing a better job of finding them? Is that it, or what's going on?
I think we're doing a better job of finding them, but also I think it goes back to COVID and people's reliance on the internet for all information, and frequently these folks have gone into places that they shouldn't have gone. And when we do a search warrant on it, it's because we already know that they've been to sites and typically chatted on sites that they never should have been on. And you know, I see it as carryover from that and almost as an illness.
Yeah, I agree with that, an illness. Gentlemen, either one of you else got something?
Well, I agree 100%. I think, people just get into exploring things that they shouldn't be into. I think law enforcement has really evolved into identifying and locating these people that are doing this and doing a great job. And what you're seeing a lot of now, more so than ever before, is a lot of citizens. A lot of citizens are doing their own things, and they're identifying these people. They're bringing them into public forums.
Yeah.
They're exposing them, and there's a lot of things that they can do a little bit easier and quicker than law enforcement can do. So once they expose them and bring them out, makes the job for law enforcement a lot easier.
It's got to be satisfying too to arrest somebody like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is, because you know that what they're watching is images of people that have been trafficked. 100%.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yes, everybody, there's very few folks that are, and especially not in child pornography, none of them are there voluntarily.
Right.
They've all been trafficked.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, so the biggest reason I wanted to get you all together tonight, social media, Facebook videos, wherever you look, they're filled with videos of people behaving badly when they're pulled over by officers of the law. They seem to think they have the right to basically not comply with any order from the officers. Now, the reason we're not going to show you any videos tonight is because a TV station has to get the rights. You can't just pick this stuff off social media and air it. You have to get written legal rights to use the content. We were not able to do that. There are several reasons why we just weren't able to. So, okay, my first question to you. If I'm pulled over by a sheriff's deputy or a police officer, what does the law say that I must do? Sheriff Rumsey, let me start with you.
The law says that you must comply. You must, answer the officer's questions. Explain why, when the officer asks you why, what you were doing, explain to them, comply.
Right. Sheriff Allard, do I have the right to refuse to provide my driver's license and insurance to you when you ask me for it?
No, you do not. You must provide your identification You must provide proof of insurance and registration. What happens typically is that escalates. And then, you know, you're obstructing governmental administration, you're creating what was just a traffic stop, may or may not have ended in a warning. Now you're escalating it into a misdemeanor charge, you know, to prove what?
Yeah.
To prove what?
But if they
What's the
strike an
purpose?
officer, it's a felony, right? Can be.
Can be, but you're probably going to get arraigned and released in this state, but yeah.
Yeah. Sheriff Schramm, you wanted to say something just now.
No, I would just say that, you know, when people posture in that manner, I think sometimes they do it in the hopes that the officer is going to be intimidated or back down. It's going to cause them to maybe just say, okay, just go on your way, and it doesn't work that way. Oftentimes they want to air a grievance or demand a supervisor come, and they think that they're going to dictate the way the traffic stop's going to go, and it's simply not. We're not obligated to have a supervisor there if it's not warranted.
Right.
You know, if somebody truly feels that, you know, something was done erroneously, they have, you know, what they feel is a legitimate grievance, there's a time and place for it. It's not on the side of the road. It's not to get into a big debate and to engage and antagonize. You know, the officers are going to remain professional and do their job, and you can either comply with it or not and make things worse when you don't need to.
Okay, so you tell me to roll down the window of my car, and I refuse. I'm assuming I'm not within my legal rights to do that.
No, you have to be in a position that we can legitimately see and obtain your identification, and like the Sheriff Allard said, and to be able to communicate with you effectively.
Right. Okay, next question, Sheriff Allard. If an officer asks me to get out of my vehicle, what are my rights then?
Well, once again, you're in a vehicle on a public highway. If you're the operator and you're requested to exit the vehicle, you should exit the vehicle. The officer has the right, the deputy has the right to perform the investigation. If there's indicators of intoxication or impairment, they have the right to conduct that investigation, perform standardized field sobriety tests. If they're asking you to get out because there's a warrant for you or any other thing that's going to ask them to have you get out, you need to comply. You know, this notion that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do is it's an erroneous notion. And the officer and the deputies, they have the ability to conduct investigations. They have the right to ask you to exit the vehicle. And typically what that does is, again, escalates the situation rather than de-escalates it, and it takes you into an area you don't want to be.
Yeah, if you just comply, maybe you're going home that night, you're not going to jail, but if you start it,
Especially in our state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, almost 10 times out of 10 you're gonna.
Yeah.
All you're doing is making it worse when you become antagonistic and non-compliant.
The other thing is, if you're not compliant and you're fighting on the side of the road, but you actually had a case, you just ruined it. And now if you go to court and you were right, you know, you might get off on the charge that you were pulled over for. But most of the time, that's not the case.
Okay, so you pull me over, and I'm not putting down my window, and I'm refusing to provide identification, so then you're going to arrest me. Can you break my window?
If an arrest is going to be made, if there's probable cause there for an arrest, yes, we can enforce that arrest.
So it's a good idea to put your window down. I think that's what you're all
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
It is. Well, it's a good idea to comply anytime. Again, we're enforcing traffic violations to keep the motoring public safe. Help us keep the motoring public safe. If you're doing everything but that, you're not keeping folks safe, you're making things more dangerous.
So, Sheriff Schramm, in a lot of these videos, people are refusing to allow themselves to be handcuffed. They are fighting, they're biting, they're resisting, they're screaming. I would assume at that point the officer has to do what they have to do to get the compliance and get the cuffs on.
100%. You have the right to use the amount of necessary force that it requires to gain compliance. You know, in this day and age, the officers aren't going to fight more than they have to. Luckily, they have the tools such as tasers, which are very effective of gaining compliance of a non-compliant person, pepper spray, or just wait until your backup gets there. So, you know, generally when somebody positions and postures that way, it's not a good outcome. You're increasing the chance of getting hurt yourself. You're increasing the chance of the officer getting hurt. If the officer does get hurt in the course of effecting an arrest, now you're looking at a felony. You took a simple traffic violation that you're going to walk away with and you can deal with in court if you feel you were wronged, to a serious felony that you're probably going to be arraigned and put in jail for.
Okay, so when can an officer legally use a stun gun? I mean, I'm going to call it that because they're not all tasers, unless you all are using tasers.
We're all using tasers.
No, well, then we'll call it
yes.
tasers.
All right.
So when can an officer legally use a taser on me?
When it's justified and necessary to effect the arrest or to protect ourselves or another person from use of force. I mean, it's very narrowly conscripted when use of forces are allowed. They have to be justified under Article 35 of the New York State Penal Law, and they have to be necessary within that time stage. So, you know, no one uses, well, I'll say no one that I know of in this profession uses force that's not justified and necessary. I've not seen it. I'm sure it's happened other places, and we've seen horrible video of it happening other places, but no police officer gets up in the morning or in the afternoon and heads into their job and says, boy, I'm going to do some unjustified use of force today, and man, isn't that going to be a great time. We don't want to use force. 9 times out of 10, we get no thrill out of it. We don't get any good feeling. As a matter of fact, I think that's one of the most harmful things to police officers and to wellness and durability, is having to use force when you really don't want to. So, yeah, it all comes down to Article 35 of the Penal Law and time, stage, and necessity.
All right, let's go off into just a slightly different area for a second. Let's talk about sovereign citizens. Have you all had to deal with any of those people that have come through and claimed, oh, you can't arrest me because I have these papers that allows me to drive. I'm not a member of any government, so you can't touch me. Have you all had to deal with that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
So what happened? I want to know.
Well, a lot of times they'll end up putting liens on people's property that they end up dealing with. I remember when I worked in the city of Corning, they put liens on the judge's property.
Really?
Yes. This fella had his own license plate that he had created himself. And when I spoke with him, he told me I had no permission to board his vessel. And when he went to court, he said that this tribunal was not authorized to treat with him, and it's all language that they've taken off the internet.
Right.
9 times out of 10.
How'd that work out for him, by the way?
It didn't work out
I didn't
well
think
for
so.
him.
I didn't think so, no.
No. There were a lot of violence against police from some members of the sovereign citizen groups. And luckily, we haven't seen as much of that recently.
No. It is tapered off a little bit, but it does come up occasionally. And we just instruct our people to be professional, advise them of the law, make sure that your direction to them is very clear and concise. The beautiful thing of having body cameras is that is all recorded, so their actions as well as ours are recorded. You know, if they are given lawful commands in clear direction of the consequences of them not complying, you know, they can spew all the rhetoric they want. The bottom line is we're going to complete our task, whether it's issuing a ticket or effecting an arrest, and it's going to happen one way or the other. And to finish on the topic that Sheriff Elder was talking about with the use of force, you know, we train our staff to avoid the hand-to-hand if you can. We have a lot of tools available to us. If we know that you're going to be non-compliant, if you're taking an aggressive stance, we're not going to go hands-on. There's no reason to. We'll step back, give you commands, and use a taser or some alternate means to get you into compliance because it's safer for the officer. If
It's
you bump
safer
your
for
head,
you.
yeah, ultimately it's safer for you as well. But if you end up getting injured on the fall down, that's 100% on you because everything's recorded. And we know that it's recorded, and we assume that everything we do is recorded, whether it's from our own cameras or somebody that we don't see that's recording us. So if you keep that mentality, you're always it's gonna guide you to always do the right thing.
And we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with the sheriffs in around 2 minutes. I hope you'll stick around. Welcome to our live Sheriff's Forums. We're going to get to your text message questions here in just a minute because we're getting a bunch of them and they're good. So thank you. But I want to go to Sheriff Rumsey. tell me if I did the right thing, and hopefully this will be an educational tool for me and anybody else if I didn't. So my wife and I rented a car. It was, as I said, it was cheaper to rent a car to go from the Syracuse airport back here in Elmira up to Syracuse than it was to park. So we rented a car both ways. So on the way back, we're going through Ithaca at about 1 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. And, I'm sorry, Tuesday morning. And we get lit up by a sheriff's deputy. And I'm thinking, okay, I was doing 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. I know he's not going to give me I don't know what's going on. So when I saw the lights come on, here's what I did. Tell me if I did the right thing, okay? We pulled up to where the road was wide because it was narrow where he let me up and pulled up. I kept both of my hands on the steering wheel. I put the window down. I kept my both hands up there. He said, did you know that your license plate, which is an Indiana plate, is not registered? I said, no, sir. I said, it is a rental car. Would you like to see the paperwork? And he said, yes. And I said, it's in my pocket. Is it okay with you if I reach into my pocket and get it? And so I did. And he looked at it, called it in. It turned out it really was. Their computer had an error. But, you know, we were calm. We were nice to him, you know, because I knew I hadn't really done anything wrong, you know. But how do you want people to, I guess I can take my hands down now. How do you want people to react when you light them up and pull up behind them? How would you like to see them react?
Well, it tells me that you're still here with us. You didn't get arrested, so I think you did the right
Good
thing.
boy, yeah.
Yeah, putting your hands on the wheel so we can see your hands is perfect. Pulling over in a place where is you know, safe enough for yourself and the officer is awesome. That's always going to go a long ways with the officer. So I think you did very well.
And be nice.
And
Yeah.
comply.
It goes a
be
long
nice.
way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just, we don't want to be there any longer than you want to be detained.
Yeah.
And if it's a simple thing like that where it's an error, you're going to be on your way quick.
Yeah.
Don't make it something more than it has to be.
No, well,
Dome lights are nice too.
Yep.
oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
turn on your dome lights, illuminate the inside of your car.
That's
that
good.
Helps.
Yeah, thank you. I hadn't thought
Yep.
of that. Okay, let's go to the first text question. Sheriff Schramm, I'm going to toss this one your way because this is something you wanted to discuss tonight. This woman wants to know about bicycles, EV bikes, helmet laws. Most I see no reflective or bright clothing, dark colors blend in at times, cutting through traffic around vehicles. I'll just flat out say I've seen people riding these e-bikes and e-scooters, they're nuts.
Yes, so we are getting inundated with complaints about e-bikes and e-scooters. You know, anybody under the age of 16 can't even be on one. Anybody that is on them is supposed to have a helmet. They cannot operate it on any roadway that has a posted speed limit above 30 miles an hour. So in the city, you see a lot of it, but we're seeing it out in the town where the speed limits are generally 35, 40 on the roadways. So, you know, the biggest part for us in the reflective, they have to have the proper reflective equipment on it. You know, common sense comes in with the clothing. You know, you want to wear something that's going to make you stick out. Those things fly. I mean, you know, when they're not required to be registered, when they're not required to be insured, they're whizzing in and out of traffic. You know, the major complaint is if they smack into a car and cause a lot of damage, who's responsible for it? Your insurance company is going to eat it because there's nothing that these people are going to be responsible for. They might get ticketed, but the chances of getting any money out of them is slim to none. So, you know, the biggest thing we're doing is really educating our personnel. A lot of times that interaction is for educational purposes. We're not stopping you to conduct enforcement. We're stopping you to say, hey, were you aware that you can't be on a roadway posted at 30 miles an hour or higher on these bikes? And a lot of people don't know. They don't know the rules. They go out and get these things, and they're convenient, they're cost effective, they're efficient, and you know, they can get in and out of places a lot quicker than cars can. So I understand why people want them, but they have to respect the rules of the road. If not, people end up getting hurt or killed. You know, and a lot of times when they do, people immediately go to the motorist. They should have seen them. They should have done something.
Right.
Well, watch how these people are riding on the road, just regular bicycles in general. And, you know, then they wonder why people get hurt and killed. So you got to respect the rules of the road and pay attention.
And they're riding without helmets.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw one
Without
guy,
helmets,
an
without
adult.
lights, without
Yeah,
reflectors.
I saw an adult the other day. He was an adult on an e-bike. I'm doing 33, and he just roars past me.
Right.
No helmet, dark T-shirt, and you know, my wife was with me, so I didn't say what I wanted to say. but yeah, I mean, these folks, they're not particularly safe?
No.
Was it going to? You've had a death in Steuben County, didn't you? A
Well,
kid
we just
riding a
had
bike?
one a couple weeks ago.
Oh, didn't know
And the
that.
guy had a helmet on. You know, and when he's doing everything he should be doing, he's riding along the shoulder of the roadway. Where his mistake was is he put his left arm out to signal, but never looked. And at the time he put his arm out, he came into the roadway. But he had a helmet on. He had all the safety reflective gear, and he still, you know, still perished as a result of that. So it's not a guarantee, but it gives you a better chance.
I knew about that accident. I didn't know it was an e-bike.
No, this was just a regular bicycle.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was going to say. Around the Catherine Valley Trail, and I like to go up there and hike. And man, these people on motorcycles, it's posted no motorized vehicles, but they're still going on there. Is there anything you can do about that?
We have had very little complaints on the Catherine
Okay, I'm
Valley Trail where
complaining.
we're at. But you know, as long as they're following the rules of the road, like you said, I don't think there's much that we can do.
Right. Okay.
You know, Jim, if I can just jump on that real quick, the Lackawanna Trail, it's been, you know, it gets a lot of use around here. As a matter of fact, I just posted on Facebook before I got here, one of our deputies and 2 EPD officers are working a joint detail. So one of the things that we're doing to be proactive is we're throwing bike patrols on those trails. You know, a lot of PR. They're interacting with the people that are walking, running, using bikes on it, chatting with them. It's a feel-good thing for those people to say, oh, it's good to see law enforcement out here on the bikes. While at the same time, they're looking for nefarious acts. You know, you get the homeless encampments that are in and around those areas. You get other people that are out there that are up to no good. So they're kind of doing a little bit of dual purpose. So we found it to be very effective. We've run several so far. We're going to do several more over the next few months.
Okay, another text question that I got earlier today, I wrote down. Woman wants to talk about no cash bail. And I really wasn't going to bring that up today because I know that's like lighting your guys' fuse and just waiting for it to blow. I mean, it really is, and I don't blame you a bit. But one thing that really bothered me that happened last week, this guy gets arrested. No, it was this week. This guy gets arrested for shoplifting, right? They gave him an appearance ticket. Well, guess what? He had a warrant out for him because he didn't appear on an appearance ticket from his previous shoplifting arrest. What's the rate of recidivism on all this stuff? How many people who are getting out on no cash bail don't show up or reoffend while they're out waiting for the trial? We had a sex offender, I think it was in Schuyler County, who had been arrested 3 times.
So we're seeing a lot of the bail jumping indictments for folks that don't show up, at least in our county. All bail, so-called bail reform did was push everything about 5 years down the road. We're at the same number now of inmates in our jail that we were in 2018. But the people that are in there are now charged with 6 and 7 and 8 different counts of whatever they're charged with rather than 1. So all it's done is push things down the road, create an entire host of new victims that didn't need to occur. And now instead of facing 1 felony charge and getting a county year, they're almost all facing multiple felonies and getting state time.
Right.
So, you know, you just continue to wonder, what is anybody in Albany thinking, and why is it so hard to fix this and go back? Now, I don't think anybody here would disagree that there was some discrepancy in the system for those that had money versus those that didn't.
Right.
But we threw the baby out with the bathwater, created an entire dissembling of the criminal justice system, and now we're faced with picking up the pieces and trying to put together a Lego model without half the pieces gone. It's just not going to work, and they've got to go back and fix it before we can't move forward until we fix what we broke.
Sheriff Rumsey, is there any hope of this thing getting fixed? Because I know this seems to be the answer for all lawmakers. Let's don't look at the root cause. Let's don't do surgical removal. Let's just cut right there and just say, oh yeah, we did something about it. Is there any hope for this thing getting fixed?
Boy, that's a loaded question, Jim. I'm going to tell you, not unless things change in Albany, no. Because if you ask Albany, the state isn't a cashless bail state.
Right.
So until that problem is even known that it is a problem in Albany, I don't see any end in it.
Another text question that came in earlier today. They're angry because they think you all are cooperating with ICE. And they are. And I'm assuming that if ICE puts a detainer on somebody, y'all are going to honor it.
If they have a warrant.
If they have a warrant,
judicial,
right.
Yes,
Yep.
if they have a judicial warrant, you bet we will. And we have,
Absolutely.
I can tell you, 25 years ago, I was at City of Corning. ICE came in for a guy from Northern Ireland that had been making threats, that was here illegally. We went to his apartment, grabbed him out of bed. He went to Buffalo and was on a plane back to Northern Ireland that day. We've never not cooperated with ICE. This isn't something new. That's what kind of drives you a little bit nutty, is they're making like this is some big new thing.
Right.
That's never, it's been happening for
Forever.
Right.
ever. And we've always cooperated, assisted, aided, and helped.
Here's a kind of a follow-up to that question, because it's happening, seems to be happening a lot more now that the southern border seems to have been fixed. Now we're hearing more and more stuff about people who shouldn't be getting into the country coming through the northern border, and you guys are close.
Yes.
You're pretty close to that, so that could impact you directly. Have you had any problems with that so far?
We haven't experienced
No.
much. I know
Our northern partners have.
Sheriff Milby in Wayne County, he's very entrenched with addressing that issue and working with the Canadian authorities to to monitor and keep an eye on those things. So, but luckily we haven't dealt much down here.
Right.
Anytime that I ask you guys to come in, it seems like right before you do, another scam pops up. And this time it's Chemung County.
Yeah.
And that one, I keep telling people on the air every day, they're doing it because it works.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
They're making money.
Oh,
easy.
absolutely.
And we've got to stop them.
Millions.
So you want to talk a little bit about the latest, I think it was what, Sergeant Ritter?
Yeah, so it's not a new scam. We did have a Jim Ritter that worked for us. He was an investigator for us. He's since retired. He was never a sergeant, but he certainly did, he's a real person. They went as far as to use the Supreme Court judge's name in their communication, said that he's the one that issued the warrant. Basically tell them that they either have a civil penalty that they owe or some other type of warrant attached to them, and they require them to go get these, whether it's a gift card or
Money
this
pack.
cash pack, money
Yeah.
pack. Yeah, man, those are red flags.
I know.
If somebody's telling you, and the funny thing about this is we thought maybe there was a chance that this guy would meet our target at a location, so one of our investigators rode with her, went to a store as if she was purchasing what she was asked to do, thinking that we'd meet up with them, and he called and said, nope, just scratch the numbers off, give me that number so he can put that data in the system, and that money goes right to him. When she said, no, I don't think I'm going to do it, I'm not comfortable with it, I want to meet you, the person immediately got belligerent. Well, no cop's going to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all these are red flags that people just need to trust your gut. If somebody calls you and says you have a warrant, they have a warrant for you, and you have to pay money, say, okay, I'm going to disconnect this call and I'm going to call the agency that you say you're calling from and verify it. It's very, very simple. Don't fall for it.
That's a really, really good point. If you want to know what's really going on, hang up. Don't engage these
Yeah.
folks in
Right.
conversation.
End the
Don't engage them.
conversation. They'll go on to the next person.
Yeah, and then you can call the sheriff's department, and you guys will tell them what's real.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All three of you, I hope you can answer this, but I'll go with you, Sheriff Rumsey, on this one. Will a member of your sheriff's office ever call somebody and ask for money over the phone?
Absolutely not. No.
But people keep buying into that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I
Yes, they
think
do.
there's one
Because
thing
they
that-
scare them.
Yeah, they scare 'em,
Yeah,
that's
100%.
right.
And then people get intimidated. But there are fundraisings that do occur through agencies that people need to be aware of. So
Typically through
but
the unions.
Yeah,
Yep.
it'll be through the union. The union will do a fundraiser. A lot of people will call down to say, hey, by any chance is your union fundraising, and we'll verify
There you
for
go.
them. So again, if they get the call and they're like, it sounds legit, but we're not sure, just call down. We'll say, yep, there's currently a campaign going on for fundraising, and it's legit.
And don't engage them in conversation. And there's a good reason for that now. They're taking AI samples of your voice, and then they're finding out your relatives or friends, and they're using that AI-generated plea to make it sound like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get shot, please send money.
Yeah.
So don't engage them in conversation. Another text message, all of you, this is a fun one. It seems like when I drive down the road, the smell of marijuana is strong coming from cars near me. Isn't that supposed to be illegal?
It is.
Yes, it is.
You cannot, it's just like open container law. You cannot smoke marijuana while you're in the vehicle or be obviously under the influence of marijuana while you're driving. So they can be stopped and ticketed for that. And I think to Jim's earlier point, that's when the deputies or officers are going to engage with to determine whether or not there's any impairment of the driver.
Yeah. And, okay, Brendan just answered my phone, had me on the phone for another text question. If you're waiting to pull over, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Back to the cannabis, no one under 21
Correct.
That's right.
Right.
can legally possess cannabis.
Oh, that never happens.
Well, I wish I had a nickel for every time
Yeah.
a driver under 21 that was, or a passenger that was smoking when the vehicle got stopped, and then they get a ticket for that.
Right.
And they say, well, it's legal now. No, not if you're under 21.
No.
Okay, let's say my wife and I are going to the grocery store. We stop at a
Is your wife
stoplight.
under 21?
Yeah, I wish. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
be
should
careful.
have said that.
You're gonna pay for that.
Honey, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's say that we pull up next to a car at a stoplight, right? And the people in that car, their windows are down, and they're just toking up. What should I do?
Take down a license plate.
Is that right?
Call 911.
Take down
Yeah,
license
call
plate.
911 or the
911.
non-emergency number and just say, hey, I'm following a vehicle. This is what I'm observing. And hopefully an officer in the area will stop them.
Okay. Here's a woman who sent, or I don't know if it's a woman, a person sent us a text saying they're on the Miracle Mile. So they're using that as an example. They say, can you wait to pull over in a safer space if a police officer turns the lights on? For instance, you're on a busy street. Is it okay for you to drive a little ways until you get to a safer spot?
A little ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might think you're
Not a mile and a
not
half to
complying.
get to your
Yeah.
driveway.
Yeah. I understand that. Okay. All right. Well, we already talked about e-bikes and e-scooters. So let me see if we can find another text question here. Brandon's helping me out with this. So we already talked about it. All right. Sheriff Schramm. Here's a good one. I like this one. What would you say to parents if they're thinking about buying an e-bike or e-scooter for their child?
Well, here's the problem. Under the age of 16, they can't have them on the roadways at all. So
Oh, I
their
didn't know
ability to use them would be very limited.
How about on a sidewalk?
Well, they're not supposed to be on a sidewalk just
At
like a
all.
bicycle. They're supposed to be on the road and follow the rules of the road. So, you know, be careful what you're investing in to make sure that, you know, you're complying with the laws and that they're able to use them. I know it's becoming very popular. There's a lot of college kids. Parents are buying them for their students to get around campuses,
Right.
which is an awesome idea. Very cheap and inefficient for them.
I liked that iPad.
Yeah, well, that's,
Well, time for a new one.
yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Nope,
to interrupt.
that's-
I apologize. I interrupted the sheriff by dropping my iPad on the floor. So anyway, we're going to take a break now. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more questions. Your text message questions are coming in fast and furiously now. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Hope you'll stick around. Welcome back to our hour with our sheriffs. Sheriffs, the text messages are coming in fastly. They're coming in fast and furiously. I did go to school. And a lot of them are about how we all should behave when we get pulled over. This is a
Yep.
good question. What if the driver tells the officer he has to get documents out of the glove box? Aren't the officers concerned about them reaching for the gun? This is a big concern they must have. Our sheriffs do a good job of protecting the public. 3 exclamation points.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they're going to be, you know, attentive to what you're doing. If you're advising, hey, that's where I keep my documents, they're going to monitor them and watch them. You know, they've got to do their assessments at all times during the stop to determine whether or not they feel the person in the car is a threat. So, but it makes sense to an officer that those documents would be in the glove compartment. So it's not an unusual thing to interact with in you know, experience. So just the person being open and honest. And if listen, if they're a carry concealed permit holder, hey, officer, I have a carry concealed
Yep.
permit. I
Right.
have it on my person. I keep it in my thing.
Yeah.
Just so you know it's here. Just communicating that's going to bring everybody down.
Well, a good firearms instructor will tell you that you
Correct.
need to do that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yep.
Sheriff Rumsey, we're hearing all this stuff now, and my director, Dominic, just said in my ear, what about new drivers? How do they learn this stuff? How do we teach them how to act?
Well, we'd hope that a lot of the driver's ed through the schools and stuff are teaching it.
And most of our SROs teach it
Yes, absolutely.
in the schools where
Yep.
they have it.
Our SROs are teaching it.
That's good.
You know, if parents are unsure, I'm sure we can ask deputies. You know, we all do PR throughout the year at different things, bicycle safety. Ask a deputy.
I have to throw this in because I think it's hilarious. I'm talking about driver's ed classes. I had one when I was in high school. It taught me a lot. In California, they got rid of driver's ed in schools. Now you have to pay a private driver's teaching company about $600 to teach your child, and the state will not allow the parents to teach their children because we're too stupid.
Wow.
I'm just saying. All right, I love this next question. I really do. Any one of you can answer this. When stopping someone, who is the more belligerent, a marijuana user or an alcohol user? I love that question.
Been a long time since I stopped somebody, but usually alcohol.
Alcohol.
They're more
Alcohol.
Marijuana's
competitive.
more mellow.
Yeah. Do you just like put a plate of chocolate chip cookies in there, say, if you're not, yeah. If you're not stoned,
Yeah.
you don't want these, right? Okay, here's another one. Can you register an insurance, an e-bike, to ride on the road over 30 miles an hour?
No.
Yeah, it's flat out prohibited, right?
Yep, they're not eligible to be registered or insured.
What should one do if they observe a motorcycle crotch rocket? And I know we're not talking about e-bikes here. We're talking about high-powered motorcycles.
Yep.
And man, they fly down the road. What can you do if you observe a motorcycle crotch rocket weaving in and out of traffic, speeding down, say, Clemens Center Parkway? And I got to tell you what, working here,
you hear
we
it.
hear those bikes
Yeah.
like crazy every day. So what should people do?
It's going to be hard to get the license plate, but
Yeah.
you got to get the license
call it
plate,
in.
description of the driver, description of the motorcycle.
And
call
listen,
it in.
and you know, this isn't probably a good thing to broadcast, but it's the truth. You know, we don't encourage our officers to engage. There's no value in trying to catch up with a crotch rocket that's screaming at 140, 150 miles an hour, because all you're going to do is just lead them into their death. So, you know, they might pursue them for a short distance. If they find out that they're non-compliant, you know what, we'll catch up with you another day. It's not worth it.
There's enough LPRs, license
Yeah.
plate readers, and cameras around, especially here in the city,
Yeah.
where that vehicle is going to get captured on video or by a license plate reader. It's going to give you the address of the owner. We can go pay him a visit after that.
Right.
And it's on film.
Yeah, you know, not a lot scares me anymore, but I'm telling you, when I'm on the road and I get passed by a motorcycle going, 100 miles an hour or more, it scares me to death. Not just for him, but for other drivers, you know?
Right.
And especially when they're splitting vehicles.
Oh,
you got
yeah.
cars going like this, and they
Oh,
come
yeah.
in up in the middle, and one car just veers one way or the other, and that's the end of
And
it.
there's a lot of states out west where that's still legal.
California. Lane splitting is not legal in New York?
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
All right, here's another scam question. A woman, I'm going to paraphrase because it's kind of a long text. She got a call from a female from Medicare today asking if they gotten her Medicare card, and she wanted private information like read the numbers and the letters from the Medicare card so they could verify it. Scam
Right.
all the way.
Yeah,
right?
don't do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Especially if you weren't expecting it.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's
well,
really
that's funny
good.
because I wasn't expecting one. So
It goes back to the old door-to-door house repair folks
Yeah.
that would come knock on your door and say, wow, I just did that one, and it looks like you need a new roof too. I got a great deal for you. I got leftover stuff. Well, you don't know this person. You didn't ask for them.
right.
You don't know that your roof's in bad shape.
Right.
Why would you invite them in?
Right.
This is just an extension, but it's a digital, electronic extension of the same old scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a whole group of people, as you guys know, that just travel around the country ripping people off with fake roof and fake driveway
Been
repairs.
doing it forever.
Yep.
Sure is.
Why don't they keep people in jail when they rob or something really bad? What are we doing about all these homeless people camp because homeless people steal? Stop calling this number, people. Don't call it. We're not going to take your phone call. We're only taking texts. All these homeless people camp because homeless people steal from Weiss Market. They get out, do it again and again. And I got to tell you what, my wife and I saw it firsthand the other night at Weiss Market. It is happening a lot. So, I mean, I think I can answer this. You guys can answer it. Why are you not keeping these folks in jail? I think we know.
Bail reform's one.
Yeah.
And these
We
are
take them
low level.
in. Yeah.
They're low level crimes. You issue them their appearance ticket. They're non-bailable.
We're not allowed by law.
Right. It's as simple as that. You know, it's not because we don't want to.
Right.
Right.
You know, the homeless encampments, if you pass a local ordinance, there is some enforcement there. But again, if you don't get the cooperation of the property owners to say, hey, I don't want them on my property, or they're on property that you know, is kind of not really, you can't identify who it belongs to, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, that's a problem with cleaning up these homeless camps around here, isn't it?
They just move to another spot.
Yeah, they do. And if it's on public land, it gets cleaned up pretty quickly if somebody
Right.
reports it. But it's on private land, that could drag on for a long,
Yeah.
long time. Yeah. I want to ask this same person here another question, and I'm not sure you guys have anything to do with this, but I want to ask you, what are we doing about all these slumlords, and when are you going to lift the ban of Section 8? I didn't know there was a ban of Section 8.
That's not, nothing
Yeah,
to do with
that's-
law enforcement, really.
Yeah.
That would be a DSS question.
Yeah, it'd be DSS and probably the city police somewhere, right? Not necessarily county sheriff. All right. How can we trust the police to protect and serve? No, I'm not going to ask that question. Okay, I'm sorry. A neighbor
okay.
in our building had a woman on the back porch under the influence of drugs. Do I call police or 911?
Same
Same
difference.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
911.
Yeah.
And 911, it'll get routed to the correct department no matter where you call from,
Right.
Yeah, even the non-emergency number. They'll-
Right.
The first thing they're asking is where your location is, and they're going to start dispatching the appropriate law enforcement agency.
Yep.
Well, here's an interesting one. I terminated my tenant's lease for a garage on my property. They refused to remove their belongings and are avoiding being served court papers. What are my rights? Is that anything you guys deal with?
Civil.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's
civil process.
Gotta go
straight up
civil court,
eviction.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a
Long time.
process and it takes time.
It
It's very
does.
frustrating to people because they get, you know, I want them out, they're not paying their rent, they're not doing what they should be doing, and, you know, it's very frustrating for them, but it is a civil process and it does get handled, it just takes a little time.
Yep.
Okay, I love this question because I get really frustrated with this myself. What can be done with those drivers that stay in the left-hand lane and
aren't passing?
And that's exactly right. They're not
left lane
overtaking
loafers?
and passing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
what can be done? Is there a law in New York that allows you to do anything about that?
As long as they're, yeah, I mean, if they're going well below the speed,
If they're
you know.
creating a hazard.
Yeah,
Right,
it's like
yeah.
impeding traffic, you can
But if they're
stop them.
going
and
right at the speed limit and they're in the left-hand
they're
lane.
just being annoying.
Yeah, you kind of got to.
No law.
You're going to deal with that.
Here's one. I don't know if this person is joking or not. It comes from an area code 347 number. So that could be, you know, who knows where. But how much fentanyl can I legally have on me before it's against the law?
Zero.
Zero. That's what I thought.
Unless
Yeah.
it's
This is
prescribed.
prescribed,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, you don't see that prescribed too often.
No.
I mean,
It's not good if you're getting,
Hospice usually.
yeah. if you-
oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yep.
How do you legally stop someone from tailgating?
Well, it's following too closely is the section of law. If they're creating a hazard because they're following too closely, they can be stopped and ticketed.
Okay. How often, do you all have K-9 units?
Yes.
How often do you deploy your K-9 units?
Whenever needed.
You don't know, and you just don't know
Right,
how
yeah,
often that's going to be,
depends.
right?
I mean, you got to remember, they're
Yeah.
used for such a multitude of reasons. They can be used for tracking, drug sniffing. The working dogs can be used as a
Bomb
bite dog,
dogs.
or bomb dogs. There's a
Arson
bazillion
dog.
reasons.
Yeah.
So, therapy dogs. So,
Yeah.
This is a question about how far you can go to protect your property.
Dare.
And,
comes up all the time.
it's interestingly worded. I'm just going to read it. Question for Chemung County, but I think all three of you will have the same situations. A couple of months ago, two gentlemen were in my driveway attempting to get into vehicles and possibly garages. I've increased my security with additional cameras and lighting. My question is, when I catch someone, do I start with a pepper spray, baseball bat, or my shotgun to protect myself, my family, my belongings, and my home? Man, I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Totally.
listen, years ago, I had a case where, when I was an investigator, a young man was going through cars in the neighborhood. This is over in the town of Southport. He was going through an old-timer's car, and the old-timer had a .22 next to his bed and proceeded to let 6 rounds go through his screen window, and he hit the kid all 6 times. Bottom line, it wasn't warranted. You can't justify using that type of force for somebody who's outside of your home just going through your stuff.
Right.
You know, in this day and age, like this person's example, when they have cameras, the best thing to do as soon as you see them, get on the phone, contact law enforcement,
Be
get
a
them going.
great witness.
Yeah,
Oh,
yell
there
out the
you go.
window. Hey,
Take video,
jerk, get
right?
off my, get off my property. The cops are on the way.
Yep.
You know, rack a shotgun, scare them, but
Ooh, I like
you know,
that.
don't let any rounds go. You're
Yeah.
gonna end up on the wrong end of that.
Right. Just like we have to be justified and have necessity, so does the
So
private
the
person.
civilian.
I had to yell at a bear to get off my property. Sheriff Rumsey, I want to start with you. This is a question that I wrote and also just came in on text, and this is area code 607. As a parent, my child's safety is of the utmost importance. With the school shooting in Minneapolis recently, what's being done to keep my child safe at school, and what should they do during a lockdown if they aren't in a classroom and somewhere like a bathroom with no adults? And I want to add that what I was going to ask, how do you talk to your kids about this?
We tell them, you know, obviously the schools that I know in our counties, they train for these all the time. They do these lockdown drills, at least 3 or 4 a school year. And if they're caught in a bathroom and they hear the lockdown, they tell them to stay there. Or if you're in the hallway, try to get to the nearest classroom as quick as you can.
Right.
And hunker down with the rest of them.
Sheriff Aller?
So that's one of the things that I'm pretty impressed with. Our State Sheriff's Association has a group called CPAS, which is all about safety for SROs, and it has items on the portal, but it also has training that they conduct. And, you know, I think all of our SROs in all 3 counties have training and alert, which is response that's taught by the Department of Homeland Security, and the University of Texas is where it started. So they have very good training to deal with these situations the worst day should it come. We also, I think all 3 of us, have extra equipment for that SRO in the building should they need it based on what's happened to other places. So we have some of the best training, we have some of the best equipment, and we have some of the best people. So, you know, students need to be trained to do what they're told in that situation by the adults that are in charge of them. That's their primary function, is to be where they need to be and do what they're told to do. And we have highly trained people, not only in the schools, but responding to. And I know you've got scanners in your schools. We've got a number of schools now that have gone with a system that lets us see the live feed from the school cameras as we respond. So the technology continues to increase and help us. The training continues to increase and be better, and the equipment is so different than what it was 10 years ago.
You said something
It's
very
amazing.
important I want to follow up on. Tell your children to do what they're told to
Yes.
do.
Especially the young kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's
The older
go over
kids,
there,
the
be
older
quiet,
kids,
be quiet.
yeah, they're gonna make their own decisions. If they can get out of that situation, they're gonna do it. The younger kids need that direction.
Yep.
You know, we've come a long way since Columbine.
Yes.
Columbine was disastrous in that law enforcement staged outside.
Right.
Nobody went in until they had what they felt were the right resources there. Now, that first officer there is engaging. They're not waiting.
They're going
That's
in.
why all of our school resource officers have the equipment that the sheriff is alluding to. They have more than what they need to engage somebody and neutralize that threat if they need to. I would say in addition to that, all of our patrols, aside from the school resource officers, everybody has key access to get into those schools.
Yep.
When they go into lockdown, nobody else can get in there. Our law enforcement can override the system and send more resources in to identify and neutralize a threat.
Yeah, that's not always been that way.
No,
So it's
no.
good to have that.
No.
But when you have a great partnership with your school,
that's right.
you're constantly, you know, training and doing best practices, you know, it's going to result in good outcomes. And having the guys in the school is invaluable.
Yeah.
We have
It
to
is.
take a break, but I want to ask one quick follow-up question. Do you still teach run, hide, fight?
No.
What's changed now?
Well, the alert program is deny, defend, and there's something else.
Escape.
But yeah, escape if you can.
Right.
And then deny and defend. But the issue of run, hide, fight is you're then a sitting target.
Right.
So we teach, again, move to a safe place, be at a safe place, and let the law enforcement come in and stop the killing and then stop the dying. That's
Right.
our goal.
Listen, and I know your time is, that run, hide, fight model is still at the federal and state level. There are still a lot of crossover, although you're hearing different words, a lot of the systems or a lot of the ideology behind them are very similar.
Right. All right.
Yes.
We're going to take a break, and then we'll wrap up this hour, which has gone by so quickly. We still have more questions we can get from you, so thanks. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, we've only got about 4 minutes left, so I'm just going to get right to the question. Gentleman wants to know, it's a reciprocity-related question. He wants to know if he's traveling through New York from another state, and he has an unloaded shotgun with the shells in a different place, can he carry that in his motorhome?
Yes.
Long gun, yeah.
Yep.
Isn't that
Shotgun
required
is
to be
fine.
licensed?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not, and I'll tell you, when I moved here, I had my CCW California.
Right.
I could carry it all the way to New York's border, and then it had to get locked up.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
because New York has very little reciprocity on handguns with other states, right?
Currently, the only
think
one we
they
have,
have any.
well, we have an agreement with Bradford and Talbot County, Pennsylvania, because of our close proximity. We have that arrangement actually under the previous sheriff with the sheriffs out of both of those counties. So it's been very beneficial because it's benefited New York carry concealed permit holders in Pennsylvania and vice versa.
Yeah, that makes sense, though,
Yeah.
because it's going along
Yeah, we're
across
right
the border
here.
a lot, yeah.
And there was a new case, I don't know if you just saw the recent case, about not having to be a resident or own property in New York to get
Yeah.
a New York State pistol permit.
Yep, did see that. That's good. I'm going to read you this one because it's just from their heart, area code 607. Just want to thank you for this show, helpful information, and thank you for trying to protect our communities. I have so much respect for law enforcement.
Very nice.
Isn't that nice? Good to
It
hear
is.
that because, you know,
It
you
is.
guys are
Appreciate
like,
it.
you guys are like my job. You know, I tend to hear, you guys suck more than I do, more than I do if
We
that
still
we've
hear that,
done
but that's
something
usually before
right.
we leave the
Yeah.
house.
That's
Okay.
Hear it
Is
before I
there
leave
any
your house.
kind of, is there any, this is a good one. Is there any kind of law, city or county code on excessive loud exhaust on a truck that wakes me every single day at 4:15 a.m.? Thank you in advance. And I'll tell you, when I first moved here, I was living in a little apartment until we got our house. And every morning around 4, there'd be these trucks using jack brakes.
Yeah.
And it
that's-
would wake me up, man. Is there any code or law against that?
There's some local codes. There's an inadequate exhaust as if it's a car or a passenger vehicle that has loud exhaust. But there are several communities that have put in decibel limits just because of the jake brakes.
As a landowner from Chemung County, do you have the right to be armed on your own property with a hunting weapon to approach trespassers or homeless squatters? Man, that is a
Listen, it's your property.
Wormhole.
There's nothing to say that you can't be harmed, but you've got to use great judgment. You cannot engage, you cannot threaten or menace somebody. You know, and you're always going to be criticized if you present that way, and that puts somebody on the defensive, and now it escalates something. So, listen, it's your property. You can be armed, but you got to use good judgment.
Yeah, somebody walks on your farm. Let's say somebody in Schuyler County, somebody walks on your farm, you pull out a rifle, you point it at them, said, I'm going to shoot you if you don't move. You're probably breaking the law, right?
Yeah, probably.
You can have it and display it.
can
Be
have it
careful what you
display.
say.
Right.
Be careful
Yeah.
what you say.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've only got 1 minute left. Do you guys have anything you want to use as a closing thought?
Just thank you for doing this. That helps us answer questions and reach out to a lot of our constituents. And again, that's what makes the office of sheriff different.
Well, you guys are always forthcoming. You have a lot of great answers. I appreciate it. We'll do this again really soon if you guys will make yourselves available.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think tonight we had a lot of good text message questions. You guys had a lot of good answers. My final thought is be safe.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for
Thanks.
watching. We'll do this again soon, and make sure you watch 18 News at 11 tonight. Thank you.